Okay, this is David Florence of Evolution of Dave. For those that do watch my videos, then you'll know that my journey is very much about the enhancement of my mind, finding clarity, optimizing my health in as natural a way as possible. And this all stemmed from a wake-up call moment about a year or so ago where I needed to step it up. I needed to be a better person, a better human being, a better husband, father, and also just figure out how to be a stronger, healthier human being. And what I've realized recently is that much of what I do now falls into the camp of biohacking, which is a term that I've only recently come across. Doubtless some of you know already what it is. But I have here a biohacking expert by the name of BioCurious Kayla. Kayla will probably tell me her full name in a second. But what I'd like to do is introduce you to her, and we're going to have a little chat about what it really means, biohacking, and also when we link it to what I do and the enhancement and optimization of my health, my mind, perhaps we'll talk about the various methods that Kayla employs to do just that. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. I'd like to now introduce you to the wonderful Kayla. As I say, an expert biohacker who comes from a health science background. She will now tell you a little bit more. So Kayla, please introduce yourself. And also, perhaps before you do that, just tell the world exactly what biohacking is.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, and I love sharing this type of knowledge with the masses, so I'm happy to be here and talk about this. My full name is Kayla Osterhof, and as you mentioned, I come from a health science background. I'm actually a health scientist by trade, and then also a biohacker by passion. So for those of you who might not know, biohacking, a simple way to explain it is that it is all about changing your environment, both internally, inside your body, inside your mind, or externally, like where you live, your surroundings, what you come in contact with, to have control over your biology for specific health and wellness outcomes. So for me, the way that I practice biohacking is very much through a natural approach. Some might call what I do functional health, functional wellness. All of these things, we're all talking the same language, but the term that has been coined is biohacking, which I think is kind of cool, and it's kind of a catchy, techie name, but it is appropriate for what it is. So personally, my background is in, like I said, health science. I got my bachelor's in health ecology, and I was planning to actually work in physical therapy. So I was pre-physical therapy, and I took all of my biological sciences, anatomy and physiology, the chemistries, all of the hard sciences in undergrad. And then I realized that a lot of the problems with our healthcare system and health in general is that people are not taking ownership of their own health. And this goes along with biohacking and functional health as well. So that kind of changed my course in my education, and I got my master's in public health. And now I work as a health scientist in the field of public health. With the intent to look at the population level and policy level issues in health. And again, it all kind of boils back down to individuals taking ownership of their health and really understanding their own biology, their own needs, and changing their behaviors and lifestyle to support their biology. And I'm actually right now getting my doctoral degree in mind body medicine and functional nutrition. And so that all really goes in line very well with biohacking and functional health and wellness.
That's amazing. Yeah, so that's perfect, isn't it? So you're likely, well, how many years will it take for you to finish that, or are you towards the end?
My PhD is a 5-year program, so I have 4.5 left. I'm just started.
Yeah, brilliant. I think that's amazing. And what's lovely about that is, as an aside, I think, is that you've got this chosen path now that's linked to your passion. You know that you can create this career out of it, that every day won't feel like work. And, you know, for me, that's a hack in itself, isn't it? Because we're all looking for that in our lives, and most often, unfortunately, don't find it. So if you can find that passion-led career, good for you. Well done, you. So that's interesting. And I think from what you've described there, it does seem as if that term biohacking can probably cover so many different things. It's a bit of a minefield. So it's probably good, as you say, that we dive into very specifically around this whole optimization of health and energy and things like that. And I know that you are a runner, and quite an accomplished runner, I believe. So tell me how you use biohacking for your, is it endurance running? I'm assuming sort of distance running.
Yeah, so I'm a competitive duathlete, so running and biking. And I actually got into biohacking because I was trying to figure out how to optimize my training and performance athletically. And through that, I actually found some things that really enhanced my brain function as far as like clarity, energy, focus. So all of these things kind of go together, but specifically for running, for me, it was all about nutrition. What I was fueling my body with was really important. And what I found to be the most beneficial was fueling my body with enough healthy fats. And so a lot of times, and if you follow the old school, the food pyramid, you're going to see that the recommendation is not to eat very many fats. And then there's tons of fat-free foods out there, which are heavily processed. So for me, there were three things with my diet that were key for both my physical performance and my brain performance. And so number one was getting high quality fats. So knowing which fats you can heat is really important, because some things, like for instance, olive oil, is really beneficial for your brain and your body. But if you heat it to a certain level, like if you fry with it, it actually turns into a carcinogen, which is toxic to your body. So knowing, yes.
So just any form of warming up olive oil, it becomes a carcinogen.
Yes. So you actually want to know which fats, and you don't have to know the biochemistry behind it, but you can do some research and find out which fats are okay to heat and safe to do that, and which fats are healthy and which fats are unhealthy. But really, the most unhealthy fats are going to be your trans fats. So if you kind of stay away from those, and then you find out what you can heat and what you can't, that's key. So the second thing nutritionally was cutting out all processed food. So prepackaged food, things that have to have all these sorts of additives and chemicals to keep them fresh. So that was major. And then the third thing was cutting out sugar, and specifically refined sugar. So I still have sugar occasionally, but I reserve it to raw honey and stevia. And those are my two main sources.
Sorry, what's stevia?
Stevia is a natural sugar replacement, and it comes from a stevia plant. And it actually is very low glycemic, so it doesn't spike your blood sugar, which is actually what you're trying to control when you cut out refined sugar.
Wow, I've never heard of that. So that's interesting in itself. And I was smiling all the way through that, because sugar is my vice. And it's definitely something I need to get a handle on, because there are a number of things that were vices that are no longer in my life. So I've got a fairly disciplined approach towards those. But sugar is, definitely something I need to do another video on, I think, and make myself cut it out, because I'm very much aware of how bad it is, obviously. And it's interesting, isn't it, that of course I was born in the 70s, and there's been a huge sea change in understanding around health, obviously, and it's specifically really in the last 10 years that some really significant changes have occurred, especially to do with our understanding, as you say, of fats, for example, which of course when I grew up, it was just deemed you don't eat fatty foods. That's the thing that's going to make you fat and unhealthy. Which, you know, and I guess there is some sides to that, but as we now know, there are many fats that are good. And so just going back to those fats, then you cook then with what, coconut oil or something? Or?
Yeah, so I actually use, if I'm going to like fry or something, I'll use refined coconut oil that is safe to heat to that temperature. I'll also use grass-fed ghee, which also has a high smoke point, so it's safe to cook with. Right,
yeah, gotcha. Which of course is something those from India have been doing for a significantly long time.
Absolutely.
So going back to your performance and endurance running or distance running, duathlon, what have you noticed from not tapping into that biohacking world versus the methods that you now employ? What's changed?
So besides the nutrition aspect, obviously the physical training part of it is really important too. So for me, it was really about, one, setting goals, and keeping myself accountable, which the key to that is to just set a deadline for yourself, and then set aside time for the training that you need. But also, it was also finding a balance between, doing all of this long distance running and biking, but also supporting my body through doing other cross training at the gym, lifting weights and doing high intensity interval training, which really helps both with the cardio side, but also building the strength that my body needs to support endurance. So it was more about understanding my body and how to optimize my performance personally. And you really biohacking is a lot about listening to your body, listening to the cues that your body is telling you. There was a point where I was running every single day, 8 to 12 miles, and my knee was just killing me. And then I had to reassess it. It was my body telling me that's not the right way to train. And so actually when I cut down my mileage and started integrating other types of workouts that built my strength and endurance, and my supported my cardiovascular health, I was able to reach the next level of performance athletically.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I still see people just churning out the miles. And I think if you look at any sport, if all you're doing is the specific training for that sport alone, it's very likely you're going to form some form of injury, or at least you'll have to pull out of that sport for the rest of your life, because your body can't keep doing the same thing over and over again every day, because you're bound to wear down what's inside. So yeah, and I still see people now churning out the miles, and they're not, and actually these are people that probably just do the same pace as well when they're churning out the miles. They're just doing their 10 miles a day or whatever it is. And of course I would never say anything to them, but in my mind I'm thinking you could probably do a little bit better, and by yourself, and if you're performing by your performance, if you did chuck in a few other methods that built your supporting muscles and as you say, your cardiovascular health. So that's
absolutely, yeah.
And have you noticed, do you have not necessarily in-depth data, but do you have data that shows the before and after?
I do actually. So I currently I'm tracking my data using a fitness app and a wristband called BioStrap. It's similar to Fitbit, but the online platform is a lot more comprehensive and intuitive. So that has been really helpful for my training because it measures my heart rate, my heart rate variability, my SpO2, and my respiration, as well as like active calories burnt and all that stuff. So that's really helpful to kind of watch your biometrics as you're doing these performance, or to measure your performance, because it's hard to know if you're improving if you're not taking measurement. I've always used like tracking apps like Under Armour to track both my my speed, my length of run, and to track kind of my my efficiency at running, basically. And so watching those changes over time, there's definitely been significant improvement in my endurance and also in my performance on race day when I'm fueling my body with the right things, which has been a huge game changer. And then also setting specific goals for myself, and setting deadlines, keeping myself accountable, and then integrating these different cross-training methods.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I like the accountability thing. And it's, I think I was listening to an Audible book the other day, and this chap made a very important statement, I think, that when it comes to accountability, there is no point in being accountable to others. You can only really be accountable to yourself.
Right.
And I think when you realize that and you can develop that self-discipline, that's when you propel yourself to the next level. So that's...
I've actually found the most success as far as accountability is to actually say something out loud to other people so that I do have to stay accountable to myself.
Yeah.
So for instance, on Instagram, I will announce to all my followers, like, I have this race on this date and I am going to run X amount of days per week, and I'm going to do these other workouts. And then I post on that stuff to show them, like, I am actually doing these things. And that's been really helpful.
That is a really, really good point. And something that, it's funny, when you change and improve your mindset and your psychology, these things do suddenly filter in and you don't necessarily realize that you're doing them. But I did that with the ebook that I'm almost finished. I kind of put it out there to all my friends and family, and then on Instagram that I was creating this ebook based on the research, you might call it, over the last year of me enhancing my mind, etc., and body. But then that made me do it. I can't backtrack now. I have to do it. I have to complete it. So it's a brilliant method, isn't it?
Absolutely. And actually that's a biohack in and of itself, because really you're changing the environment in your mind. And you're also using your external environment, the people in your life, to keep you accountable towards your goals. So at a very basic level, that's a biohack in and of itself.
Yeah. And I'm assuming then in this term, biohacking, there is a psychological element where people are exploring those methods to improve their own, positive psychology.
Yes, absolutely. For me, mindset is one of my most important biohacks, and without a healthy mind and healthy thinking, all of the rest of the biohacks do not matter. So if you have, like past traumas, or you have a lot of negative thoughts and feelings, and that could be tied to your current environment and what's in it, and that's making you have these negative thoughts and emotions. Or if you're not in touch with your emotions and you don't know how to, one, express them, or two, work through them and understand them, then you cannot perform at optimum levels because you're going to constantly be distracted. So the way that I practice my mindfulness is, there's a couple of key things in my daily routine. One is, in the morning, I like to start off with a 10-minute meditation. I'm still working on it. Sometimes my meditation is total crap, and all it is going through my list of things to do that day. Sure. But at least I try it every day. And then I write down all of the things that I am grateful for in the morning,
Well
because
done.
that sets me up for a positive attitude throughout the day and to tackle whatever it is that I need to tackle. Because a saying that I love is, you can't both be grateful and anxious at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you're happy and you're grateful for even the small things in your life, you can take that energy throughout your day. And then from there, I also write down my, 3 to 5 big goals that I want to accomplish that day. And that sets me up for success.
Yeah.
And then in the evening, I actually reflect and write down the things that I'm grateful that happened that day. And it could be the goals that I reached. It could be, a conversation that I had. It could be maybe I helped somebody out and that was really nice, or somebody helps me out. And then again, that puts me in a positive mindset, and it's very calming right before going to bed. Yeah.
I think those tools are amazing. I think they're brilliant. Good for you for employing them. And we do that here. In fact, Lockie, my son, on a very basic level, he does his gratefuls in the morning, along with a kind of a mindfulness thing. He's only 4, so we can't expect him to do a great deal. But it's setting him up, because it's so important. I think what's lovely about that is that, had you said that maybe even just 10 years ago, a lot of people would have considered it fluffy. When we look at meditation, for example, it's really only in the last few years that it's beginning to spill out into what I call normal world, where it's considered a normal thing to do. One thing that I think was a recognition of that, I watched a TV series, probably well known in America, called Billions, if you ever came across it. And what was amazing, it was obviously a TV series that is set in the most masculine, testosterone-driven corporate world you can possibly find of financial services. And the main character, the lead character, he regularly would step away from his office, move to another place in order to meditate. And that, to me, was recognition that meditation is no longer considered one for a certain group of individuals. It is out there, everybody does it, and if you don't do it, you're silly not to do it. And it's that understanding now, isn't it, around the benefits of all these positive psychological things you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. It has become mainstream, and for good reason. There is a ton of good science backing the benefits of meditation. Some of it is experiential benefits, but if you actually look at the biological side, meditation calms your parasympathetic nervous system, and that is what basically controls the hormones in your body and the hormone levels in your body. So that goes to the hormones in your body are what affect also your sleep, your energy. They control your sex drive, your mood, everything. So everything that has to do with your health links back to your hormones, and it also links back to your stress levels, which have an effect on your adrenal system. So meditation has a direct positive correlation to improving and supporting your adrenal system.
I think that's it. And I think when people realize the physiological benefits you can gain from doing these psychological things, that's when people that might have considered it a thing not for them start to listen. It's what I've found actually with friends, family. Whenever I've been able to apply a scientific understanding of these weird and wonderful things that I do, people then start to listen and realize that actually they're not weird and wonderful. They are actually hugely beneficial. And if you do want to spin a few plates in your life, if you do want to progress your life up the career ladder, or do whatever it is that you want, if you want to set yourself goals, employ these methods and you're going to get there. So I would imagine for you, though, this is all still research, as in you know, a bit like the wise man that always knows that there's more to understand in the world. Is that the same for you? In other words, you've got these methods that you employ now, but you're still testing. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. I see my body as a kind of research platform. It's where I do my experiments. I test everything on myself before I would ever recommend it to anyone else. And so I'm constantly testing out new things. I'm always trying to reach new levels. I think that there is no limit to my body and my brain. And so I want to see how far I can take it. And it really has to do with, you know, my own personal motivation and drive to do so. And so specifically on the mindfulness thing, that is a huge area of research, especially in my PhD program. My colleagues who are also in that program are all doing amazing original research in this field, but part of that is linking back to all the research that has been done before and compiling those results and comparing it with what they're testing currently. So everything that I do personally, everything that I talk about, like on my social media, on my Instagram page, always links back to the science, and it is actually contributing to the work that I'm doing and the research that I'm doing in my doctoral program. So for instance, next week, I'm starting a week of mindfulness biohacks. And so every day I'll post on a different mindfulness-based biohack. And I always, when I post about it, I don't only explain what it is and how to do it, but I explain exactly what the effect of it is on your biology. And I link back to the science, and everything that I put out there, I go back and check and double check on PubMed and with all the research and make sure that it's accurate and that it's good information.
Well, we'll remind people of this at the end, but tell everybody now what your social media channels are called. What's your Instagram profile?
Yeah, so the best place to find me where I'm most active is on Instagram, and it's biocurious_Kayla.
Very good, thank you. Now, of course, there is, and you're going to chuckle now, there is one thing that you know that you have yet to test, because I've asked you about this. So, do you think you are going to test the Wim Hof method and cold therapy, or do you do some of it already?
I do a lot of work.
I'm deliberately putting you on the spot now.
Yeah, I do a lot of work with breathing, and I also do some cold thermogenesis practices.
Brilliant.
But I am such a wimp to cold. I hate it. So even just doing my 30-second cold blast in the shower is like torture to me. But I know that it has such huge benefits, and it's part of my morning routine that sets me up for a good day. So I never skip it. I always do my cold blast, even though I don't want to, especially in the winter.
Yeah.
But it has huge effects, and I do have plans to do more work with Wim Hof and with cold thermogenesis, more aggressive things. But, I've got to build up my courage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, this is where you make that statement now, and then you know that you're going to have to follow through.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe this summer, when at least it's warm outside, then I can get up the bravery to do more of these things. I actually have an appointment to go and do cryotherapy at a place here in Atlanta, but I haven't gone yet. Because I hate the cold, so I've been procrastinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, like most, and when you think about it rationally, most people probably do dislike the cold, and it takes a long time to get to like it. So going back to the various biohacks that you employ, which one, if there is one thing, which one do you think has had the most impact on your life? That because of it, you would absolutely say, hands down, everybody, you need to do this.
So I never say hands down everyone needs to do something, because everyone is unique and their biological needs are unique. And also anything that you do, whether it be, physical biohack or a nutritional biohack or even like a behavioral biohack, they might add some level of stress even though it's good stress to your body. So I just want to put out the caveat that if your stress levels are already high and you're not managing your stress, I don't actually recommend that you do any sort of biohack until you get that under control.
Yeah, well done.
And a lot of that can be through, like, you know, meditation and some self-care practices. But that being said, personally, my favorite, and everyone that I've known that has tried this has had good benefits, is intermittent fasting. But not only just doing that, but supplementing my intermittent fasting periods with fat only, high quality fat. So during my fasted states, which I usually do 16 hours fasted, and then I eat only during the rest of, you know, a small 8-hour period, usually. So 16-ish, give or take. Could be longer. A lot of times it's shorter. I listen to my body. So if I'm just starving, I eat.
And that's a really important statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the whole listening to your body. That's the most important bit when it comes to fasting.
I think that's the most important thing when it comes to any biohack, but certainly to fasting. Get to know the difference between being uncomfortable, which is fine, and you will be uncomfortable when you're fasting, and then causing damage to your body. So there is a difference between those two things.
And sorry, you were saying about the fats. I interrupted. Carry on.
Yeah. So during my fasted state, I fast completely from protein and carbs, and the only thing that I have are high quality fats. So what I will do is I'll do what some people call a bulletproof coffee or tea in the morning. So I'll usually start my morning off with a workout or something, and then afterwards I'll have my first meal will be just coffee and fat, or tea and fat, depending on what I want.
And this is not your breaking of the fast, is it?
It won't break the fast technically, because it is actually putting my body into fat burning mode. And what happens is when your body is fat adapted, which you can do through this sort of practice, over time your body becomes fat adapted and actually uses fat as its primary source of energy, which is really important for your brain, which I need to be working at optimal levels. I'm too busy not to have my brain firing on all cylinders. But so for me, including the fat in my fast is really key to my mental performance. And also when your body becomes fat adapted like this, and when you go into a fasted state, it activates what's called autophagy. And autophagy is a term for basically your cells. It's self-eating is what it means, and your cells are eating themselves, but the bad parts of themselves. So the cells are really cleaning themselves out. So at a cellular level, you're basically doing a detox, which is great for your body.
See, that's interesting. And I wanted to quiz about the fats there, because I remember watching Thomas DeLauer, who obviously is he's doing some incredible work on YouTube. And is obviously a big intermittent faster. But from the many videos I've watched of his, he's always stated that if you're breaking your fast with anything but water or coffee, then you're not breaking your fast. So, sorry, if you're during your fasted state consuming anything but water or coffee, then actually you're not fasting. But so I don't know, but maybe he actually probably agrees with you, because I haven't listened to as many of his videos perhaps as I should. But really, from what you're saying, then it's those fats that aren't actually triggering, they're not acting like a glucose, they are actually, is that right? Am I confusing things up?
Yeah, so that's the key, is that you are not, your body is not in a state where it's using carbohydrates and sugar, glucose essentially, for fuel. It's using fat for fuel. So your friend that you mentioned is not wrong, because it depends on how you're defining a fast. A lot of people do prefer to do a straight fast, which means no calories whatsoever. I prefer to do a fast with just fasted from carbs and protein so that it doesn't put my metabolism into the process of using glucose for energy. It uses the fat for energy. And the reason why I do it is because I can't afford to experience brain fog or any sort of limitation in my mental performance.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yeah, got it. Because I've experienced that. So I've been dabbling with intermittent fasting, and initially when I was doing it, when I was combining it with the thermogenesis of Wim Hof method, I lost almost a stone within a couple of weeks. So it's great for those watching. If you want to lose weight, do both because you can drop off. Probably not the most healthy way, but I had to figure it out. And it was actually my wife that said on a few occasions, "You are looking far too thin." That I needed to look at it and look at my calorific intake. And so now I employ intermittent fasting intermittently, you might say. So maybe 2 times a week, maybe 3 times. But what about you? Are you doing it every other day, every day, or what?
Depends on the week, and it depends on how I'm feeling or what's going on in my life. But I actually typically do a fast, including the fats, 6 or 7 days a week. So, and for me, the purpose is not for weight loss. It never has been. And actually this type of fasting that I'm talking about, I don't necessarily recommend for weight loss because I don't think that that's the major benefit here. The major benefit is it really boosts my mental performance and it gives me that cellular level detox. So I'm keeping the bad stuff out of my body and I'm putting good things in. So really that's the benefit for me.
Yeah, and I definitely experienced some of the brain fog you mentioned there. So I think what I might try is the fat enhanced coffee, which, can you just explain that? I know I've asked you this externally from this chat, but I think it might be helpful for others. So could you explain how you make your coffee that has that fat in it?
Yes. So the best way to do it, to get the fats that are going to be most beneficial for your brain function, you want to use MCT oil, which is medium chain triglycerides, and that's derived from coconut oil, and try to get an organic, good quality of MCT oil, and grass-fed ghee. For me, I use that. A lot of people just use regular grass-fed butter, which is fine if you don't have any dairy issues. But I like to use grass-fed ghee because it actually takes that casein protein out of the butter. So if you use regular butter, then you're still getting some protein, so you won't stay fully in the fasted and fat adapted state. Yeah.
And how do you make it? So you get good quality coffee, and I love my coffee just black. Okay, so for me, the idea of adding anything else to it seems a bit weird. I'm not too sure I'm going to like it. But anyway, tell me what you do.
Yeah, so personally, I like to use more MCT oil, less of the ghee, just because I don't like the coffee to taste a lot like ghee. But what I do is I'll brew my coffee, I put that in the blender, and then I do about 2 tablespoons of MCT oil and maybe 1 tablespoon of grass-fed ghee. Blend it up and it actually becomes like really creamy and frothy, and it's actually really good. It takes a little while to get used to, but once you get used to it, you'll start craving it because it's really satisfying and delicious.
And can you tell me the difference if you were to drink right now black coffee versus this other fat-induced coffee? What would there be any difference in how you feel, act, think?
Oh, absolutely. If I just drink coffee, I get the regular benefits of coffee, which I love, which is improved energy, maybe a little bit more improved, like clarity, thinking, cognitive function. But if I add the fats in, I get to a whole new level of clarity and energy and focus and cognition that I cannot get just from coffee alone.
Ooh, okay, now I'm interested.
Yeah.
That could be really useful, because I think you, me, and other people that do all this kind of stuff, generally we are plate spinning. There's lots of things going on in our lives, so therefore actually enhanced energy clarity would be really useful. There are many times actually when I'm sat in front of the computer and I have to take myself away, and I just use at the moment natural methods. I go and stand on my head, I'll go and do some exercise, I'll go and do my cold shower in the garden, all of which work. But I like the idea of this, my morning routine being that extra boost.
Yeah, if I do nothing else, intermittent fasting and drinking my fat coffee has to happen on days, especially where I have to perform at a high level. And just proof is in the pudding, is what I say. But look at my life, for example. There's no possible way I could work full-time as a health scientist, go to school full-time as a doctoral student, launch my own business and manage it by myself, stay active on social media and connecting with everyone like you, do my podcast that I'm doing, and, keep up personal relationships while also training and performing as a duathlete. That's not possible unless I have my BioHacks.
Yeah, or unless there's a double, another you out there.
That would be helpful too. So if you find a way to clone yourself, please share it with me, because I would be interested.
Doppelganger.com, it might be cool. Okay, well, this is really good, really helpful. Thank you. And that's another, perhaps something you might want to put out there. The podcast, is it live? Is there something out there that people can go and listen to?
Yes. So right now there is one sneak peek episode. The podcast is called BioCurious, and it's on all major podcast platforms. You just search BioCurious. And if you subscribe, then you will not miss the first episode, which is actually launching on February 1st. I'm really excited. I have already a ton of episodes recorded and ready to go. So there will be one episode released every week throughout the whole year. And we're going to really get into the science behind biohacks and functional health practices. And we are going to hopefully provide people with tangible, useful information and advice.
Like it. Well, you already have another listener here then, in which case.
Wonderful.
I think that is good. Is there anything else that's something that maybe you were hoping to mention or that we haven't covered that you think might be useful for people to hear? It may not be.
Yeah, I think so. We've covered most of my biggest and most important regular practices and biohacks, except one, which is really, really key. And we could do a whole other podcast on this, but I just want to throw it out there that as humans, we need 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night to perform at optimal level. So if you are not getting that, which for me, it's so hard. I'm so busy. I could easily stay up till 1 a.m. every night working and wake up at 6 a.m. and fill all my time with things that I have to do. But prioritizing sleep you need to do it. I struggle with it. I'm still working on it. But if you can do that and manage your nutrition and move your body, those 3 things will change your life.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's a great closing statement. Thank you. So let's remind let's remind everybody else again. So Instagram is could you tell me the name of your channel again for everybody?
Yes. So my Instagram is BioCurious, one word, _Kayla. And the podcast is also called BioCurious. And then you can also find me or reach me at my website and email me directly, which is www.biocuriouskayla.com. No underscore on the website, just one long word.
Brilliant. Excellent. I'm going to round this off now and just say thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope this proved rather interesting. It definitely did for me, and I'd love to do another one. This is a bit of a minefield. There's so much information out there, so many different methods to employ. As I say, I know I do some of them myself, but already now from this, I realized there's going to be a couple more I'm going to add to my routine. So, Kayla, just hang on in there just for a couple of seconds when I hit the end here. But thank you everybody for watching. Evolution of Dave signing off. Thank you.